Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to ElasticON Global. Thank you for joining us for this discussion on Elastic Observability. I'm Sajay Krishnan. I'm the GM for Observability, and my partner in crime here is Gagan.
Thanks, Ajay. My name is Gagan Singh, and I lead the Elastic Observability product marketing out here. One of the things I would suggest really highly here is we have the list of sessions which are actually going to be focused on observability during this ElasticON, and these are really exciting sessions which will give you a lot of insights and information. So we'd highly recommend that you folks, after the session, check it out as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Gagan.
Thanks, Ajay.
So in the session, you're going to hear a little bit about Elastic Observability and where we have been over the last 4 years and what we have for you today in terms of a complete solution, especially focusing on the open nature of our data ingestion and the data formats, et cetera, and then moving towards our key analytic capabilities, especially around machine learning. So we'll kind of talk about those capabilities. Now, at the end of the talk, we'll also bring this session to life with a nice demo with Bahubali Shetty, who is a lead product marketeer on our team. You folks who are listening, this is the world you live in as SREs. Perpetual complexity, but with somewhat less time for business considerations. You're all focused on your application, complex infrastructure, public cloud, private cloud, telemetry by the petabyte. Yesterday, Gagan, you and I were just talking about swivel chair observability.
Right.
That was a good comment.
Yeah, and that's very important. So one of the big things that's missed out in this whole complexity is really the ability to track your business, right? You want to make sure that your business is effectively operating while you're trying to manage across the different tools and the signals that you're getting from the data that you have.
Yeah, so this is the challenge, right? We tend to focus on that left side of that chart. It's all the telemetry and all the tools that go with it, but less time to think about what does it mean for the business, what is the business impact, et cetera. So we like to talk about observability your way. So what does that mean? Basically, Elastic is open and flexible enough that we can work with your business so you can tailor and fit Elastic Observability into your business. So of course, as with most of the vendors in this space, metrics, logs, traces, events, all of these different signals, we collect all of that into Elasticsearch. It is a single store that helps you keep all of these signal types together, analyzing it, creating correlations, visualizing it, providing workflows. And again, Gagan, the conversation we had about the attributes was interesting. So
yeah, so one of the big things to be able to achieve all of this is really your high data cardinality and dimensionality, right? As you'll see later on throughout this presentation, that is what makes a big difference in what you can actually do with this data. It's not just collecting is enough, it's the insights that you get from this data.
Yeah, so watching tons of dashboards, seeing alerts and the tens of alerts or hundreds of alerts, all of that is okay, but the high cardinality, the labeling, the tagging, that's what gives us the dependencies and the context to narrow down quickly from an alert to what may be causing it. And so the outcomes that Elastic Observability aims for is we want to help our SREs get to operational excellence, increase their productivity because they are dealing with more and more with fewer people, and have the comprehensive insight so we can understand why the issues are happening and what the business impact might be. So Elastic Observability just has set a baseline. Over the past 4 years, we've built up a suite of applications, which is comprehensive and complete. It's full stack, it's multi-cloud, it's high performance, it's economical. And we have our ML engine that works across this common data store that allows it to show insights, provide insights, and it's an intelligent platform. We have our APM, our infrastructure monitoring, our logging, our digital experience management, and most recently, universal profiling, which I'll kind of talk about in a bit.
Thanks, Ajay. So let's dig a little bit deeper into what operational excellence means, right? So as an SRE, you are constantly dealing with multiple challenges. And what are some of the questions that you're actually dealing with? So for example, you're interested in understanding and knowing, is your infrastructure really optimized? As you're pushing code on a daily basis, as the teams are moving things into production, you want to make sure that the pipeline is actually moving very efficiently. And then while all that is going on, you want to make sure that your customers have the right experience. And their experience is what makes sure that the business is operating correctly. So there's no degradation, whether it's in the front end or the back end. So you have to track all those metrics. Now, often in that picture, what one forgets is how is your business being impacted? So it's really about bringing the KPIs, being able to ingest those to make sure that you understand that there is how all this stuff impacts the business. Now, what that really does is it helps you understand where you are in your objectives, right? I mean, are you in a happy phase? Are you in an unhappy phase? And are you just putting out fires? So these are the things that, as you'll see, Elastic Observability helps you achieve. Now, how do we help you drive that? If you look at it, what we have is, let's say, about 330 or so integrations out of the box. Whether you have a Kubernetes environment, whether you have cloud environments, whether you have serverless, whether you have the native compute environments, we are able to give you connectivity and insights into all of those. Now, with the current macroeconomic condition, the costs are a big challenge. So you want to make sure that your CPU and everything is optimized. That's something that universal profiling that Sajid just talked about provides to you out of the box with no instrumentation required. So that makes it really, really easy for the operational folks to really actually get that information and do the right things. We have out-of-the-box DevOps integration, so you know exactly in your pipeline how things are performing. And then as you move further, we give you collective insights related to, for example, your APM. How is that performing? Now, in terms of application performance, you can get data two different ways. You can get it through our Elastic Agent, as well as native support for open telemetry. You don't need to add any additional software, no add-ons required, it just works. And we do really support it because we want to make sure that our customers have the choice in terms of what's really important for them and how it fits into their environment. And then ultimately, to make sure that you're getting the signals in terms of how your customers are experiencing the application is the synthetic monitoring capabilities that we just talked about. In addition to all of that, you want to make sure that you're tracking your business data, which can always be incorporated into the Elastic platform, which is really highly open and flexible. Now, what does that all achieve for you from a business standpoint? It helps you track what are the error budgets that you have, how reliable is your production and your environment, and are you able to keep up with your business objectives? And all of that, we have the capabilities which currently in beta through the SLOs and SLIs, which is really, really exciting for us. Now, in terms of trying to deal with problems on a day-to-day basis, there's two things that you have to try to do. Either you're trying to detect the problems earlier, or when you detect a problem, you have to solve those problems much, much faster. Now, in terms of Elastic Observability, we help you break those silos. To give you some examples, you'll see that we give you view into the full stack. What that really means is that when you are, for example, in the application performance space, in terms of the UI, you can actually see all the data and information related to, for example, the metrics related to it, the logs related to it. So the moment you are in any one particular area, we give you the context, the entire context around it. When we give you alerts, they are actionable and insightful. Now, what does that mean? What that really means is, it's not just the alert is human readable, but it has all the additional data appended to it, which is relevant for you to solve that problem faster. So you're not swivel chairing, you're not going across and wasting time trying to find the information. All of that is correlated. The last thing is really around now, how do we drive increased automation around it? So what that does is through machine learning, which is really the automated correlations, which help you detect the anomalies much, much faster, which surface the anomalies to you. No matter where you are in the solution, the anomalies are actually surfaced to you. Now, I just talked about the anomaly detection part and the machine learning capabilities that we have. Elastic has been building its machine learning capabilities for the last 10 years. We have the best machine learning capabilities that are there in the market as it relates to the observability domain. Now, we talked about high dimensionality and high cardinality earlier. This is where the ability of our platform to collect all this data helps bring and correlate all of this data much, much faster, giving you insights, right? A couple of examples. We are able to baseline your time series data. We're able to tell you all the anomalies that are happening. We're able to tell you even the rare events that are occurring. Similarly, for categorizing logs, there's tons of logs. The rate of log data is tremendous. It's not human readable. So you want to be able to identify those problems much, much faster, which we can actually do. Now, when we talk about rare events, what that means is the system is intelligent enough to tell you that, hey, I see this rarely, but this is a big problem. And that is the hardest problem, as you can all imagine, from an SRE world to solve problems that are intermittent, where your customers might be complaining, but you can't find the problem. And similarly, I just talked about the correlation. We have APM latency correlation. We have error correlations. It gives you all the underlying facets of what is the root cause of the problem, right? And then not only that, so these are all capabilities which we have out of the box, and you can just turn them on and simply get that information. But in addition to that, you can sort of bring your own models. There's natural language processing capabilities, which are really, really powerful. And Sajid, we were talking about that, and just love to maybe get your insights.
Yeah, Elasticsearch has been well known for its ability to work with machine learning pipelines. So this is a native capability in the platform. It's not a feature or a solution that we have kind of brought to market just in that context, as the underlying platform is very capable and strong. So that's as adapted for our observability use case and security for that matter. It's very compelling.
Yeah, we'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Thanks, Gagan. So the comprehensive insights, the 360-degree view of your environment, Elastic Observability and Elasticsearch enable this because of our open data philosophy and open data architecture, as well as our open analytics. So what do we mean by open data? You can bring in telemetry from multiple sources. We don't care how you get it into our observability solution. You can use Elastic agents. We've got all the open source telemetry points, whether it's open telemetry, Envoy, the eBPF protocols, Prometheus, doesn't matter. We're happy to, directly from hyperclouds, we're happy to ingest all of that telemetry. And that wealth of telemetry is what really enables a full stack view. Now, when you look at how to start analyzing this, the Elastic Common Schema is very rich in terms of allowing customers to point out key dimensions on which to kind of go for to enable your search. Very, very powerful. And this is how we handle our high cardinality, high dimensionality data. And lastly, when you think about, as we were discussing, Gagan, the machine learning pipeline, very mature, very complete. It allows you to bring in the data, set up the data frames so you can actually train your models. Once your models are trained, you can run your inference against that. And if you don't want to train your models, you can go to various communities like Hugging Face and import models. If the enterprise or the SRE team is capable, they can do their own analytics around this. Very rich, very powerful. And this is something that, as we look forward into the next year, machine learning and the capabilities thereof will be something that Elastic Observability will be doubling down on. So as we come to wrap and look forward into the next calendar year, into the new calendar year, these are some of the innovation points that I want to leave you all with. Number one is we are in beta with our new synthetic monitoring experience. So certainly please feel free to check it out. If you already own Elastic Observability and are using Elastic Observability, our pricing model is such that you're welcome to try any of Elastic's features. There are no limits there. If you are a customer, all of our features, whether it's in observability, security, search, are all fair game. So please have a look. Number two, want to talk about, Gagan had kind of spoken about alerts. Very nice, with rich context around alerts, multi-signal. So if you see an alert, we will bring up, anomalies from our logs, anomalies from our metrics, et cetera, to give you more context around it. A nice tab alongside will tell you that here are the related alerts. So typically when an alert fires, what happens is that you get a storm. You get a bunch of other related or coincident alerts, and that's what makes the SRE job hard. And what we try to do is see our way through that with this functionality. Number three, we are about to go to beta with an SLO, SLI capability. So SREs live by their SLOs and SLIs. So simple way for you to, with a drop-down menu, pick your SLIs, your indicators, service level indicators, set your objectives appropriately, and then have the triggers on those. So that's number three. Number four, again, another beta capability, very compelling. Universal profiling has been out for about 3 months or so in beta. Unique in that with zero instrumentation, we get telemetry from the Linux kernel. We are able to identify areas in your application, lines of code, libraries which may be misbehaving, which are consuming anomalous amounts of resources. Direct impact to your pocketbook, and very interesting in that with reverse compilation and such, we can give you insights into different application frameworks. And it's a new feature for our observability platform. Would certainly invite you to come check it out. So that's what we have here today, giving you a picture of Elastic Observability, full stack, complete, has a open data model where it's your data. Once you bring it in whatever form, either from open sources or using Elastic agents, this is your data. You can analyze it, you can see it, you can enrich it, and at the other end, open analytics around this, including a very compelling machine learning kind of pipeline. And with that, we come to the end of our brief session on Elastic Observability. And so want to now turn this over to the demo part of our discussion. So we'll invite Bahubali Shetty to take us away and show us how this open data, open ingest, open analytics, et cetera, work to deliver Elastic Observability for you folks. Again, enjoy ElasticON Global, and thank you very much for listening.
Hi, I'm Bahubali Shetty, and I'm in Elastic Observability Product Marketing. And thank you for that great intro, Gagan and Sajay. And today I'll be going over a quick demo of Elastic Observability and some of the points that they talked about earlier. So let's get into it. You're an SRE in a hipster shop, and recently you get an alert indicating that the website has severe degradation. Specifically, higher than normal latency has been detected. And you're getting an alert from synthetics monitoring. So let's start investigating what's happening to our website. We go into our monitors capability in Elastic, and in particular, we see that synthetics is having failures. And we also have a few other monitors running, and we'll come back to those in a few minutes. Now, as we dive into our synthetics monitor, we notice that the website is actually down. It's seeing a degradation in availability. And in particular, the New York monitor is down to about a 57% availability. And we can see that there's a significant number of failures that are coming over the last hour and a half to 2 hours. Now, given that New York is having some of those issues, let's dive into New York's monitor and see what's happening and see if we can glean anything from the failure. And as we look into this, we see that getting to the web page is actually okay, but it's actually selecting an item from the web page. And in particular, it's talking about selecting an item at random, which means that there's a potential problem in getting product information from the website. Now, if you notice something interesting, and as we had looked at our monitor's capability, we had another monitor issue. One of our uptime monitors on product catalog service was also showing a failure. Now, that sort of correlates with synthetics, indicating that you can't get a product loaded, and that's where one of the synthetics monitor failure is. So our next step was going to be taking a look at our product catalog service and diving deeper into it and investigating where that problem is. And so what we'll do is to go to Elastic's APM capability and look at the service map. Now, one thing to note is that we've instrumented our production application with OpenTelemetry, right? So we're receiving logs, metrics, and traces from OpenTelemetry, and it's helping us develop this service map from the traces. But you'll see something more than just the trace in the Elastic service map. You'll see that several services are highlighted in red. And what that indicates to us is that there is something wrong. And this is how we provide an additional amount of contextual information from our service map. And if we take a look at our product catalog and select it, we see all the normal sort of information, such as latency, throughput, CPU usage, some of the metrics that are coming in from OpenTelemetry. But we also see that an anomaly was detected. And what's happened here is that Elastic has taken the information and the telemetry data, and its ML models have been running in the background to detect any potential issues. And in this case, it's looked at a specific metric, which is latency, and has detected that there's a large number of records, almost 2.5 times more than normal, of a higher than normal latency for the product catalog service, and in particular for a request transaction. Now, we could actually dive a little bit deeper here and do further investigations, and we'll come back to that in a minute. But let's see if we can get a little bit more information from the APM capability by looking at some of the APM information around product catalog service. And as we go into some of the details, we see that the latency has truly increased. It's normally at about 275 milliseconds, and now it's running at about 1 second in delay. And we see other bits of information here. We see that a particular transaction, particularly one that's about listing the products, is also having a 1 second delay. We're getting additional errors, right, in the product catalog, a high failure transaction rate, and we see that there's a dependency on Postgres. So let's just take a look at that transaction in a little bit more detail. And as we dive into the transaction, we get, just like with the service as an overview, the metrics around latency and throughput and the failed transactions. But we also get the OpenTelemetry trace that has come in, and it helps show us something very interesting. It is truly taking close to a second before we get a response from the database. You can see that the select from products comes in at about the 1 second mark. But we also see failed transactions in the latency distribution, and that's kind of interesting. And so one of the things that Gagan and Sajay talked about was the fact that we have integrated our ML capabilities into a lot of the functions and capabilities in our APM service. And what we're going to do now is to utilize that, and we're going to kind of correlate, hey, where are those failed transactions potentially coming from? And what Elastic is doing is going in and taking all the data around Kubernetes, other logs and metrics, and see if there's any correlated potential effects that could be causing those failed transactions in addition to what it's seeing from the APM service. And in the analysis, it comes up and indicates that there could be some infrastructure issues because Kubernetes logs are indicating that there's obviously an issue with the product catalog service, but there's potentially other problems here. Now, we've gleaned a few things. One, the product catalog service is dependent on Postgres. We also know we're seeing a high latency issue, and that it's running on Kubernetes, and Kubernetes is also indicating some issues. So how do we investigate this? Well, there's two ways to do it. One, we can take a look at our capability called Anomaly Explorer. And in that, what we're going to do is to effectively bring in more than just the APM information to analyze what could be going wrong with our website. And what I'm going to do is to go in and actually add not just APM information, but the Kubernetes information, because we saw that in the APM service that it could be Kubernetes issues. I'm going to add metrics and logs, and I'm going to run a quick analysis with all of that data. And let me just sort this by service name. And as Elastic has run through this analysis, we can see that there are several services with high anomaly rates over the last hour, hour and a half. Product catalog service, which we saw, definitely has a large number of anomalies. The checkout service, the front end, and the advert service also have significant number of anomalies. But what's interesting is that Elastic's Anomaly Explorer has also indicated that the top influencers of some of these anomalies are as follows: the recommendation service, the Postgres, or even Redis. Now, the interesting bit is that Postgres is showing up as a top influencer. And that sort of correlates with what we saw in APM. So let's kind of filter this down a little bit, and we will sort this based on Postgres. And as we do that, it narrows down to issues and anomalies that are related to Postgres. And as we kind of work through our list of anomalies, we see that we're getting a few detectors of rare categories that are popping up. And one in particular is showing that we have an update on PG Bench, which is really interesting because PG Bench is a performance tool. It shouldn't be running in production. And what that indicates to us is that, hey, potentially the developer or the DevOps team left this in the configuration to be deployed in production. So that has sort of given us an ability to find that needle in the haystack and a place to start within a few minutes. Now, Anomaly Explorer is not the only way we could have found this potential needle in a haystack. Another capability that we do have now that particularly looks at just logs as opposed to metrics, logs, and all the other information is our log rate spike analysis. And what that does is if we look at the logs in the time frame that we have been talking about, we'll see that there is a particular spike that does occur. And when we select that spike, what Elastic does is it picks that up as the deviation, looks over the baseline, and then tries to do an analysis of all the log information and all the logs that have been coming in and sees what could be potentially influencing this based on a group analysis. And it shows in the analysis as it's popping up that there's definitely a significant number of issues related to Kubernetes with specific field values. Now we are, know that from the APM information that we are particularly interested in looking at Postgres. So let's filter this quickly on PostgreSQL logs. And then what we will do is see what Elastic log spike analysis actually shows. So let me quickly select that and rerun the analysis. And as it's running, it's now going in and sorting through all of the logs related to Postgres. And as you can see, the top three sort of groups or indicators of issues around that spike have a field value of PG Bench. And similarly to the Anomaly Explorer, it now helps indicate to us that, okay, PG Bench is potentially an issue, and why is PG Bench running? So it's sort of helped us found that needle in the haystack where we can now go from here and effectively go and dive deeper with the dev team and the DevOps team to help solve this problem. So hopefully you've learned today a few things. One, we've shown you how synthetics and uptime monitors help you identify the overall customer issue, how Elastic APM has an integrated contextual view with ML-based data, such as anomaly detection, including metrics, logs, and traces, and how we have a multitude of features like Anomaly Explorer and log spike analysis to help you really find that needle in the haystack by pulling in logs, metrics, and all the telemetry data to give you a complete picture of the issue and help you find that needle in the haystack. So, thank you.